Hey there, in today's video we're going to be going over the 2022-2023 TMSCA General Math Test number 11. Let's do it. Alright, number 41. Square ABCD and square WXYZ are shown below. Square WXYZ has an area equal to 3/4 the area of square ABCD. What is the perimeter of WXYZ? Alright, this is a pretty simple problem. So it's saying that the area of WXYZ is 3/4 of the area of ABCD. So we can first find the area of ABCD. We can do this because it's a square, and they've given us one of the side lengths. And so when we just do the area, we're just squaring the side length. So that's 8 times 8, or 8 squared, which is 64. Which means the area of this is 64. Alright, now that we have that, we need to find 3/4 of 64. So that would just be 64 times 3 over 4. And when you do that, that becomes 48. So that means the area of this is 48. Now, this is also a square here, this WXYZ. So that means that the square root of 48 is going to be the side length of one of these sides. The reason for that is, as we saw earlier, 8 squared led to the area, which means if we wanted to find the side length, right? Let's say we didn't know it was 8. If we just said x squared, we could just simply square root the side and the area to find the side length. So we're going to do the same thing here. So the square root of 48. Now, 48 isn't a perfect square, so we're going to have to break it down. So 48 can be split into 16 and 3. 16 times 3, which is still 48. So we can write this as the square root of 16 times the square root of 3, right? This is all under 1. Now we can split this up into the square root of 16 times the square root of 3. The square root of 16, well, that's just 4. So if that's just 4, then we can just write this as 4. So that's 4 times root 3. Alright, now that we have that, we can see that one of the side lengths is just 4 root 3. Now we have to find the perimeter of the square WXYZ. Alright, so the way we're going to do that is we're going to take this 4 root 3, which is a side length, right? And we can see that a square has 4 equal sides, which means to find the perimeter, all we do is the side length, which in this case 4 root 3, times 4. So 4 times 4, that's 16, and then times root 3, right? So that's 16 root 3, and that's your answer. Next, number 42. A triangle has vertices located at coordinates 4, 1, 2, 3, and 8, 3. What is the length of the shortest side of the triangle? Alright, so let's just draw a quick graph here. So let's just see where these points would go. So 4, 1 would be around here, 2, 3 would be around here, and 8, 3 would be around here. Alright. So obviously this doesn't tell us much, but this is our triangle right here. So we have to find the shortest side. The way we're going to do that is, it's actually pretty simple. All you have to do is, you have to take the differences. So we have 4, 1, right? We have 2, 3, and we have 8, 3. So between each of these sides, so 4, 1, and 2, 3, 2, 3, and 8, 3, and then 4, 1, and 8, 3, you're going to find the differences of the x value and the y value. And whichever one has the shortest combined distance, that is going to be the one with the shortest side. So in this case, this is 4, 1, and 2, 3. So now we have to find the length of that side. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to take those differences, right, between the x and y's and solve for the distance. So how do we do that? Well, 4 minus 2, right? That's 2. And 1 minus 3, that's negative 2. Now the formula for this is actually kind of just like Pythagorean theorem. We're going to square both of these values, add them together, and that's going to get us the value of the length. So let's just say distance, right? Squared. So we have 2 squared plus negative 2 squared equals d squared. So 2 squared is 4, and negative 2 squared is also 4, because negative 2 times negative 2 would be positive 4. So that's 4 plus 4 equals d squared, which means d squared equals 8. Now the problem is, we can't just take the square root of 8 to solve d, because 8 is not a perfect square. So we're going to have to simplify it. So let's take this over here. So we have 8, the square root of 8, because that's not a perfect square, so we're going to have to simplify it. So this can be broken down into 4 times 2, which can be broken down further to the square root of 4 times the square root of 2. Now we know that the square root of 4, that's just 2. So this is just 2 times root 2. And that's your next, number 43. A power 7 times b power 3 to the power of 3 divided by 8 power 10 b power negative 12, which is all to the power of negative 2, which is all to the power of 3. Alright, let's solve this. So let's take this first parentheses right here, which is a7 and b3, which is cubed. So when you're cubing like this, right, all you're going to do is you're going to take these exponents and multiply it with 3. So this would become a to the power of 7 times 3, which is 21. And this would become b to the power of 3 times 3, which is 9. Alright, so now we've simplified this. So now let's take this denominator below it, which is a power 10 and b power negative 12. So when you have a situation like this where there's multiple terms on the top and bottom which are the same but different exponents, you can divide them by finding the difference in the exponents. So for example, a power 21 and a power 10. So all you're going to do is you're going to take the top exponent, which is 21, and you're going to subtract the bottom exponent, which is 10. So 21 minus 10, that's going to be 11. So when you simplify this, this becomes a power 11. Now let's do the same thing for b. So we have 9 and we have negative 12. So 9 minus negative 12 cancels out the negatives, which is just plus 12. So this becomes 21. So this is now b power 21. This all cancels to that. Alright, so now we solve this entire parentheses. But this is put to the power of negative 2. So when you have so let's break this down. There's the negative and then there's the 2. So let's do the negative first, or the 2 first. It doesn't really matter. So let's actually do the 2 first. So we're going to take this 2 and multiply it against both these values. So this becomes a power 22, b power 42, and then to the power of negative 1. Because we only put the 2 in, right? We still have the negative 1. Now when you have a negative 1 or any negative value, all you're going to do is, this is right now on top of 1, right? Which means it's the numerator. You're simply just going to do the reciprocal now. So this 1 becomes a numerator, and the a power 22 and b power 42 becomes the denominator. So it's now become 1 over a power 22 times b power 42. Okay, now we've done this part as well. So finally, we just have to the power of 3. And that was actually pretty simple. So we just do the power of 3 right here, and we do power 3, power 3. So when you do that, 22 times 3, that's just 66. So now we have 1, because 1 cubed is just 1, right? So 1 over a power 66, and then b to the power of 42 times 3, which is 126. And that's your answer. Next, number 44. What is the sum of the roots of the quadratic equation 4x squared minus 8x plus 11 equals 3x squared minus 12x minus 1? Alright, so when solving this, what we have to do is we have to cancel out one of these sides. So let's take this right side. We're going to cancel out this side of the equation. The way we do that is by subtracting or adding the values on this side. So let's start with 3x squared. If we subtract 3x squared from here to cancel this out, we also have to subtract it from here as well. So minus 3x squared. So this becomes just x squared, or 1x squared. We'll write 1x squared for the future. Next, negative 12x. To cancel that out, we're going to have to add 12x. This cancels out, but we also have to add it here. So negative 8x plus 12x becomes 4x, so positive 4x. So now we have a 4x here. Then finally, we have negative 1. We have to add 1 to cancel it out. This cancels out, and we just add 1 here as well. So this becomes 12. Now, this is our quadratic equation simplified. Now you might be asking, why did I write the 1 here? Well, that's actually for us to use now. So the way we find the sum of the roots really easily is pretty simple. So the coefficient of x squared is going to be a, the coefficient of this regular x, or x power 1, is going to be b, and this last value is going to be c. So the way we find the sum of the roots is just negative b over a. So in this case, b is 4, so negative b would be negative 4, and then a is 1, so that's just negative 4 over 1, which is just negative 4, and that's your next, number 45. If 4 to the power of x equals 11, then what is the value of 4 to the power of 3x? Alright, this is actually a pretty simple problem. So they're telling us if 4 to the power of x equals 11, we have to find what 4 power 3x is. So one thing we can do is we can write this as 4 to the power of x to the power of 3. Because when you put an exponent to another power, right, or an exponent to an exponent, you're actually just multiplying them. So 4x power 3, right, or 4 to the power of x to the power of 3 would just become 4 to the power of 3x. So these are the same things. So now we can see that 4 to the power of x to the power of 3, right? If we just cube this one, 4 to the power of x, we would get the same thing, which means all we have to do is cube the other side as well. So that would just be 11 cubed. So we can do that pretty easily. So 11 times 11 is just 11 squared, which is 121. And then 121 times 11 is 1,331. And that's your answer. Next, number 46. What is the inverse function of the function f of x is equal to x plus 5? Alright, the first step in an inverse function is we're going to actually rewrite this with replacing f of x with y. It really doesn't make a difference, but it's just easier to visualize in this case. Alright, now the way we solve for the inverse function is we have to switch the roles of x and y. So this becomes x equals y plus 5. And now to find the inverse function, we just have to solve for it to become y equals whatever this is again. Alright, so let's do that. So if we have x equals y plus 5, we're just trying to get y by itself. So we're going to have to get rid of this positive 5 by subtracting 5. But if we subtract 5 here, we also have to do it on the other side of the equation. So this becomes x minus 5. So now we have x minus 5 equals y. Now, as you can see, even though y isn't on the left, y is by itself, which means we solve for the inverse function. So our inverse function is y equals x minus 5. But we have to change this back to f of negative 1. That's the inverse function of x equals x minus 5. And that's your answer. Next, number 47. In 3 dimensions, what is the measure of the radius of the sphere that has the equation x plus 11 squared plus y plus 8 squared plus z minus 5 squared equals 196? Alright, this is actually a pretty simple question. So we have this equation right here. X plus 11 squared plus y plus 8 squared plus z minus 5 squared equals 196. So when you have an equation for the sphere, right? Whatever this side right here with the x plus 11 squared plus y plus 8 squared plus z minus 5 squared, whatever it's equal to on this side, that is the radius squared. Which means to find the radius, all we have to do is take the square root of the radius squared. So in this case, the radius squared is 196. So we just do the square root of 196, which is 14. And that's your answer. Next, number 48. What is the sum of all positive solutions to the inequality 4n minus 10 is less than 34? Alright, this is actually a pretty simple problem. So we have 4n minus 10 is less than 34. So to solve this, all we have to do is we have to get n by itself. So the first step is canceling out this negative 10 right here. We're going to do that by adding 10 to this side. When we add 10 to this side, we have to add it to this side as well. So now this becomes 4n is less than 34 plus 10, which is 44. Now, we just want n by itself. Right now we have 4n. So to do that, we have to do this entire thing divided by 4. When we do that, that's n is less than 44 divided by 4. 44 divided by 4 is just 11. So n has to be less than 11. However, it also says that it has to be a positive solution. So that means if it has to be a positive solution, n has to be greater than 0. Which means the only numbers that fit this criteria are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So let's add them. So 1 plus 2, that's 3. 3 plus 3 is 6. 6 plus 4 is 10. 10 plus 5 is 15. 15 plus 6 is 21. 21 plus 7 is 28. 28 plus 8 is 36. 36 plus 9 is 45. 45 plus 10 is 55. And 55 plus 11 is 66. And that's your answer. Next, number 49. Simplify x squared minus 16 over x squared plus 5x plus 4. Alright, this is actually a pretty simple problem. So we're going to start off with this numerator, x squared minus 16. 16 can also be written as 4 squared. So that means this is x squared minus 4 squared. So this is in the format of a squared minus b squared. When we have a squared minus b squared, we can write that as a plus b times a minus b. So now we just factored this top equation. And we're going to factor the bottom one as well. So let's do that. So we have x squared plus 5x plus 4. Now this one has to be factored a bit differently. So what we first need to find is, we need to find two numbers that add to 5 and multiply to 4. So when you think of that, that's just 4 and 1, because 4 plus 1 is 5 and 4 times 1 is 4. Alright, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do x squared plus 1x, or just x, plus 4x plus 4. Alright, so when we do this, we have to break this up and we have to factor by grouping. So, x squared plus 1x, we can both take x from both of these parts as a common thing. So we take out the x, right, from both of these, it just becomes x plus 1. So we have x times x plus 1. And then from here, right, we have 4x plus 4. We can take out the 4 from both of these, which means this becomes 4 and then x plus 1. So as you see, we have x plus 1 in both of these parentheses, which is good. So that means our first factor is x plus 1. And the second factor is going to be x, which is right here, and then plus 4, which is right here. Alright, so now we factored this equation as well. So we're just going to put the factor for this equation, which is right here, under this one. So like this. So now it's x plus 4, and then x plus 1. Alright, now that we've done that, we can probably solve this. So x plus 4 times x minus 4 over x plus 4 times x plus 1. Well, the top x plus 4 and the bottom x plus 4 cancel out. So we're just left with, right, let's bring this over here. We're just left with x minus 4 over x plus 1. And that's your answer. Next, number 50. In a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle, sine of 30 degrees is equal to which of the following? Alright, so a 30, 60, 90 special right triangle looks something like this, where this right here is 90 degrees, represented by that box. This angle right here is 30, this is 60. And then the side lengths are, let's say this is x, and then the hypotenuse, the longest side, would be 2x, and then this side right here, the middle length side, would be x root 3. So they're asking us to find sine of 30 degrees. So this is the 30-degree angle right here. So we have to find the sine of that angle. How do we do that? Well, sine, or S-I-N, that stands for the opposite leg over the hypotenuse. Which means from 30, the opposite leg is x, and the hypotenuse is 2x. Alright, so now this is the sine of 30. However, we still have to simplify this a bit. So we have x on the top and we have 2x on the bottom. These cancel out, which just means it's just 1/2, right? Because x over 2x is just 1/2. And that's your answer. Alright, that's it. Thanks for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to show your support. These videos take a lot of effort to make, and I would really appreciate it.